Alright, just would like to explain a new feature I added to my game that will help with events. It's an execute trigger component. Well, that's what I've called it, but what it does is instead of a normal event trigger, which just gets called as they are listed in the hierarchy, for example, in the startup event, these are our event triggers and they get called one by one as they are. But sometimes there's cases where I want to call an event trigger from a different spot in the hierarchy of game objects for whatever reason. So that's why I created this, so I can just call something from somewhere else. Only want to use it in certain occasions. For example, I'm using this for my door transition from the bedroom to the hallway. You can kind of see in the scene view down here. Here's a hallway. But in the bedroom, I have there's the door trigger, and the door trigger object carries with it a collider, obviously, so it can collide with the player. And then events, I have normal door function events in here, which is just basic stuff, just to make it work. Disable control, fade out, teleport, fade in, enable control again. But I also want this door trigger to trigger some event, other events, depending on what part of the game you're at and what flags are on or off. So to do that, I also have this trigger attached. And this also gets called. So when this gets called, it'll do this, call event. And I don't want to have all my cutscene events and all their details just all spread about, so that's why I want this to just call the start of a certain event, and then that is organized elsewhere, so I can just kind of keep things all together for like the different parts of the game. So this one, you can see it's calling the pastor NPC character walking from here to here. So I'll go to that object, and here it is. And this is where I do the conditional check. So this is in the cutscene hierarchy, or the cutscene game object. It's a child of that, to keep it all organized in cutscene stuff. Pastor walks from player room tops. And here's the conditions. I have it checking true flag, if these flags are true, if the intro is ended, and if this flag is false, if you've entered the hallway. And I kind of have these numbers here so I can keep track of what part of the game I'm at. So number 2 would be like kind of like scene 2, and all the flags will be in that scene. I haven't really organized it quite yet. I've still started it, but anyway, just to prove. So entered hallway is false. So if this is all true, then it'll make the NPC walk. So then to do and then so I don't want that to happen every time, obviously, so I set the entered hallway to true right away. So then the next time the player enters the door and comes to the hallway, this will not happen again, because this is just a one-time event thing. So it sets the entered hallway flag here. Then I'm doing something here that might as well explain. That's kind of cool. That really helps a lot. An interruptible event. So the NPC is going to be walking, and this is the event that triggers that walking. But before I trigger that walking, I want to set a local flag on the NPC saying that the interruptible event. So, well, first off, this walking has a certain component called event interrupt. I kind of spelled it wrong, and it says this trigger is allowed to interrupt this walking, and it'll do this. But I also want this trigger just to stay off. See, this is the NPC hierarchy, and it contains this interrupted while walking trigger. And this condition will only be based on this local flag, so it can't have happen at any other time except when it's turned on. So it turns that local flag on the NPC on, and the NPC starts walking. This next event won't happen until the walking is over. So while he's walking, if you interact with the NPC, then this will be called. So you see here it's on interact is chosen. And so it makes the NPC go idle and face right. Then it'll execute, like I said before, this new component. But I've checked trigger random from children. So instead of calling a trigger from somewhere else, it's going to trigger one of these two children of it randomly, which is just dialogue. I'd rather talk about it in my office or just come to my office. Just some, temporary text. So let's just see all that in motion really quick. Maximize. All right. Go into the door. Okay. Beating in, beating out. There's the NPC. Now he's walking. Let me interact. Oop, okay. I'd rather talk about it in my office. Then it resumes the other event. Try it again. Just come to my office. That was chosen randomly. Now that other event resumes again. Even though it was interrupted, it can keep being interrupted and keep resuming until it's over, and then some other event happens. And it'll end when he gets to the store. And then it'll disappear. Goodbye. Goodbye. Okay.